We say in the coaching industry, every coach has a coach. Well, every leader should have a leader.
Today, our great guest is Sarah Carter. Sarah is a former US Navy veteran, and today she's a professional coach. She has over 15 years of leadership experience and 500 plus hours of coaching sessions. So I met Sarah not so long ago, but what brought us together, we have a military background. So this is how we were connected, and we discussed about leadership a lot because, as you know, military people, they really well structured people. Maybe I talk so nice about us, but and also very disciplined. But anyway, today I just would like to talk about leadership, and the topic is relationships.
Yeah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Alex. Good to connect with you again. Yes, we are structured and disciplined, for better or for worse. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, that's for sure. And sometimes people say that, oh, you came from the military world, so probably you're so disciplined and so structured. And because all of you were disciplined and structured. I said, well, you know what? Everywhere we have people. So some people structured, some people not really. So
Right.
it depends on the person.
It does. It does indeed. Yes.
So let's talk about relationships.
Yeah.
What can you say based on your experience about what is important in relationships when we talk about leadership?
Oh, relationships have been on my mind a lot recently, Alex. As you know, I lost my father-in-law recently, and the relationships that showed up in that room to celebrate his life were the ones that lasted a lifetime. And as I was driving home from North Carolina, thinking about the people who were there and what that looked like, it started to ring a bell in my brain of how important that is in other areas of life too. That it's not just your personal life where relationships are key. And as my mind wandered, as it does on a 5.5 hour drive, I realized relationship is really such a key part of leadership. You can't really be a successful, impactful, good leader without having relationship with your people, without knowing them, without meeting them where they are, and anticipating their needs and goals and dreams. You can't really be a evolving leader without tapping into those relationships that you have on your outside to grow and to develop. It really, leadership is relational. You have to have all levels of relationships to be a good leader.
Yeah. Sarah, I just wanted to ask you, when you just retired from the Navy and you just started your civilian journey, what difference did you see between relationships in the Navy and relationships in the, let's say, not in the corporate world, but in civilian world?
Yeah. Ooh, good question. I think the immediate thing that I saw is in the Navy, in the military, in any branch of the military, really, from the beginning, when you join, you are encouraged to lead in some way. It may not be big. You might just be the person who's in charge of leading your fire team. You steal something from my husband's Marine Corps, leading your fire team to keep an organized watch. It's not going to be something big, or eventually you'll work up. And that's what the military does. They prepare you from day one to be a leader. And because it could come down to that, and the awful reality of war is you could be the lowest ranking person who suddenly becomes a leader due to something awful that just happened. And the civilian world doesn't do that as well. Obviously there's a lot less riding on day-to-day corporate as far as physical harm, but they don't prepare people to grow to leaders from day one. That's the biggest difference. They prepare people more in the vein of management from day one, to manage your projects, manage your expectations, manage your timelines. Lots of management training goes on from day one. Not a lot of leadership training in form of vision and strategy and taking care of your people. Not a lot of that happens from day one. That was the biggest difference that I encountered.
Okay, so it means not too much relationships.
Right. Absolutely. You're okay, different when from day one when you join a corporate setting, you'd grow relationships as a way of finding out how things work, as a way of getting involved in the company, as a way of learning the space, but not as a way of learning how to become that leader. That's not initially how it's encouraged. That can evolve to that, but it's not initially what it's for. You're right. Relationships are encouraged in a different way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also what I realized that when I retired from the military world and I came to the civilian, I thought, wow, in the military world, probably it wasn't so structured. But when I just saw the civilian world, I thought, wow, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but I can tell you that some companies or organizations like Delta Airlines,
Mm-hmm.
they are so good, so structured, and their CEO Ed Bastian, he just really relational guy.
Mm-hmm.
He goes in every single country just to learn their culture and learn culture in every single hub. And he doesn't want to sit in the office. So this is what I heard from his interview with John C. Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that because he has a coding background and his father just told him, just deal with number and stay away from people.
Ooh.
It was advice of his father, but he said that, but when I just dive into the reality, I realized that people are the most important what we have and what we have to be willing to deal with. And this is really true. And when you just fly by Delta, I see that those people, they just care about you. It's really
a different experience.
But not all companies like this, because based on what I learned from Harvard University studies, they said 80% of all companies in North America, they have poor culture. And only 20% they have strong culture. And for me, it was really, I was shocked by those numbers, because for me, North America is like a great example to follow. But I was surprised how come. Then later I realized that managers in North America, in most of the companies, they manage processes really well. Really, really well. Yeah. So this is why managerial system immigrated to Europe. Yeah. So they took it as a basic model to run the business. Yeah. But leadership is something different. It's about, as you said, relationships.
Well, I like where you're going with this, Alex, because what is culture if not relationships?
Absolutely.
Culture is how a people as a group, so people as a plural, celebrate, mourn, participate in life, grow, evolve. Culture is how a people interacts with this whole big giant wild world. And if you try to remove the people from an organization, you're essentially removing the culture. and you've boiled it down to you're left with processes and policies and product, which those are important. But if you don't pay attention to or give two hoots about the culture that the people are wanting or are trying or are creating, you're left with no relationship, no heart, to put it in a squishy place. You're left with no heartbeat of an organization. You're left with paper pushing in black and white. And that's that doesn't even sound like fun, but it also isn't effective.
Yeah.
It those companies may get something done for a while, but as we've seen in the news repeatedly over and over, companies with bad cultures, so essentially with bad people relations, they fail. And the root cause is that.
Yeah. Sarah, what do you think when leaders will pay more attention on relationships and they will walk slowly through the crowd? They will listen to their people. They will ask questions. And because I know you really experienced a coach, and I just wanted to ask from your point of view, from your expertise, how leaders should build those relationships.
Yeah. You've got to be involved. You have to be, and I don't mean involved like creating events or in a, to use a bad toxic term that's been going around, I don't mean in an invasive way, but you've got to be part of it. Example, when I was a division leader in the Navy, somebody encouraged me, I don't remember who, but somebody encouraged me to start working out of my division space, which wasn't unheard of. It just wasn't common practice. That was a space for the senior enlisted member, that the chief usually worked there. But somebody was like, why don't you just go work down there and see what happens? And the amount of relationship building that took place from just being in their space, I knew my people better. I knew the struggles. Like, we had awful chairs. They were falling apart, literally falling apart. That was terrible. And if I had not been there to experience that alongside of them, literal wheel falling off my chair, I would have maybe written their request off as, we don't really need new chairs, do we? Like, just put the wheel back on. That might have been my response. But because I could be there and experience the day-to-day with them, that made all the difference. So that, as a leader, being involved, like I said, doesn't mean just walk around and say hi to everybody. That's not it. Find a way to experience the real of your people. I was just coaching someone the other day that if you, as a leader, recognize that you're missing a piece of the leadership puzzle, finding that person to have a relationship with as your right-hand person or as your next go-to person that fills that space is critical. So if you are a leader who struggles to make relationships, somebody who you're going to need on your team right away for sure is somebody who's gregarious and outgoing and really focuses on that networking piece and that knowing the people piece. That's going to be a tool in your tool belt, is to find that person that fills that gap. Also, you mentioned an accountant earlier. I am awful with accounting, but as a leader, especially these higher ups, you're going to need that. So making that relationship with your person who does that is so key, because now it helps you as a leader fill that gap. One thing is, you were talking, Alex, just a few seconds ago about the importance of relationship and treating people well. When we were looking at a place for my father, he lives at an independent living facility that goes up to memory care. We didn't really know what we were looking for, but this one place where he lives now, we started asking people, how long have you been here? Like the people and staff, how long have you been here? How long have you been here? No one that we talked to in the, I'd say in the mid manager level down, had been there less than 12 years. The person who'd been there the longest has been there. He's the head cook now. He's been there 27 years.
Wow.
He's like, never leaving. And it's, you ask him why, and he's like, it's like my family.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's it. It's like your family. They treat him well. He's promoted up. He started as a dishwasher, and now he's the head chef. They promoted up. They gave him opportunity to go learn. They gave him the opportunity to try different roles in the organization. They really nurtured him as a person. And so he feels connected to them. He feels that they care, which is, again, part of relationship. You have to care about your people. So he feels that they care. He feels connected. And he's like, never leaving. This is my place.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's amazing. And what a testimony to that organization that most of their people have been there over a decade. How rare is that anymore?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And also what I realized in different organizations that you just mentioned that leaders see best in people, and they place those people in the right spot where people will become more successful, more productive, and happy, but then they leave those people. They just leave them. They don't grow them. And this is also a big, big mistake what I realized, because people become kind of like a tree in the forest that nobody cares about it. So in my philosophy, if you want to say that when you plant a tree, you have to take care of the tree. You have to cut some little branches once per season and put right soil.
Yep. Yeah.
And grow that tree, take care of the tree. But so many leaders, they just think that they understand leadership, they practice leadership, but they just practice leadership to the certain level. This is why the level of effectiveness determines by their leadership lead.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I love your metaphor, the tree, nurturing it. I have a philosophy of leadership that there's really only two keys to leadership. You have to know your people and treat them well.
Absolutely.
And your metaphor falls under the treating them well. So does relationships. It falls under treating them well. You can't just leave the tree.
Yeah.
It's not going, I mean, it might grow maybe, but first of all, how are you going to ever come back and look? You've got to give opportunity for growth. You have to listen to what people are asking for. If they are, you have to, and the things they're not asking for either. You've got to see the talent and encourage that to be nurtured. You can't be a on paper leader who goes through the nice leadership checklist, like, oh, did my thing today. You have to engage.
Yes.
Because there's so much, people are like an iceberg. That, you know, you see the tippy top, but the real meat of it's below the surface. And you if you don't make the effort to know your people, you're not going to know what's beneath that surface to help them grow, help them cultivate, present the opportunities that they need. If you're not engaging with them on that level, then they are the forgotten tree in the forest. Like, maybe it's growing, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Once I just talked with one manager, let's say general manager, and he told me about his leaders, about the top management. And he just shared with me some ideas about what he advised to his top management. And he told me, but they didn't want to accept those ideas. I asked why? because I talk about people, I talk about some processes, I talk about something new,
Mhm.
but they just ignored. They just didn't listen to me.
Hmm.
And I asked, but why? Why do you think they just ignore you? Or maybe they just don't have time to listen to you? And he said, no, because they're bad. They're bad leaders. I said, listen, it looks like if they would be bad leaders, they would not be at the place where they are today. So probably they have some limitations. Maybe they don't understand how leadership works at their level.
Mhm.
So they need somebody like you, Sarah, like myself, just to
Mhm.
help them to open their eyes to understand how leadership works in that level. And what I like, what John Maxwell teaches, he just once mentioned that no matter what leadership position you have, as soon as you grow up, you have to go down again and connect with your people.
Mhm.
Because when you just get your promotion and you just become or mid manager or executive, so you have to go down to your people, to the same people, because as soon as you grow up, people see you differently
Mhm.
and there is disconnect. They disconnect with you.
Yeah.
And you also see them differently. So you should go downstairs a little bit and talk to your people and to connect from that level.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's really interesting. And this is why basically I also advised to that general manager that what that leader or his leaders should do to be able to connect to people and have, again, what we're just discussing, good relationships.
Mhm. Mhm. People don't, I love all the metaphors around moving up in a company. If you'll notice, a ladder, climbing the ladder. You got to climb the ladder. You came from somewhere to go up. There must be some down. So you got there somewhere, and I'm sure you didn't do it alone. The other metaphor people use is bridges, burning bridges. That represents a relationship. You don't want to burn the bridge. That's in just the same way when you climb up the ladder, you're not cutting off the rungs. You have to stay connected to that which got you there because you were doing something right there.
Yeah.
So how do you keep it going? Yeah, there's so many examples of people who do burn the bridge or cut the rungs off the ladder, right? Who then are like, oh gosh, I'm stuck doing I'm floundering here. And I just coached someone the other day on this topic of a big mistake I feel that people, when they get promoted to a leadership role, they either ineffectively seek out or don't at all seek out a mentor or a peer-to-peer connection to learn exactly what you were just talking about, the change in perception. So because there's this person who I coached was promoted up and was experiencing that, well, now everybody looks at me differently. But I was just their buddy yesterday. Now I'm their boss. How do I deal? And that's a weird space to be in. That changes all these relationships that you've cultivated with your buddy over the water cooler or the coffee pot. And now you need a new relationship. You need that person who's done it before you to help you figure out, okay, we don't want to lose these guys because they got us here.
Yeah.
How do we work those relationships, rework them to make them still effective, still really good, solid relationships, because you will need them. You can't leave it behind unless you change organizations. That's a whole other thing. But you need that new relationship of someone who's done it before so you can glean their insights and continue your own growth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. When we talk about relationships, it's often brings me to reflection because very often leaders they just very busy and they just push, go, but very, very seldom they just slow down. They sit on their chair, like thinking chair, and talk about what they have done, who they have met. They don't reflect on it. And I think this is because they maybe do not understand, or maybe they do understand the relationships, but they don't pay attention to relationships. They pay attention more on just strategy, vision, and processes, but they are not focusing on relationships with people. And this is why I realize they don't reflect. What do you think about that?
Yeah, reflection's key, because like we were just talking about, people got you there. Relationships that you'd already built got you there. And leaders, I've been telling people recently, it's a condition of our modern society that we're all busy, go, seem like we don't have time. The good ones make time. The good ones understand the importance of connecting, staying connected, reflecting, making that time. So another example from my military world, and I'm sure there's plenty of them out in the corporate world, I have not experienced one. I had a CO who had a quarterly meeting with the junior of all junior, the newbies. And that was obviously very intentional for multiple reasons, but he made the time to do it. I encourage people that I coach now that are in the real world, the civilian world, to do the same. If you aren't intentional about it, the reflection or the connecting, it won't happen. Set aside the time, be very intentional, make it a hard schedule in your week, month, not week, but probably month, quarter, meet with this group of people and block it off. Like, it's untouchable on your schedule. That's how you show that you value that relationship, that it's important to you to hear directly from, because wishing and hoping that the time will just appear in our modern society, that doesn't happen. You're going to get 900 emails that you're going to feel like you have to check. Your phone's going to be ringing off the hook and you're going to be like, shoot, I totally didn't meet with such and such group of people. So you have to make the time, or else it won't happen.
Yeah, that's for sure. And as a conclusion, Sarah, I just wanted to ask you, what would you advise to leaders in different industries, or let's say, we can talk about different industries, but what would you advise for all of them? Just something, one that you passionate about, and you see that based on your advice, people would grow their leadership ability.
Just one. That's hard. I like to talk about lots. Just one. I advise people, we'll wrap it all up, and you have to have relationship with one up and one down. As I tell people, you have to have that one person up who's done it before you, who can give you advice on how to continue your own personal growth. Like we say in the coaching industry, every coach has a coach. Well, every leader should have a leader. You can't, or else you're stagnant and you're stopping. And then you need one down or 10 down, however many down, to keep a finger on the pulse of the evolution of what's going on. I coach people around relating to the next generation, who they're leading. And it's like, you've got to have those people that you know too, or else you're going to become the pet rock that nobody buys anymore. You're going to become irrelevant or out of touch, whatever the words you want to be. So as a leader, you've got to have at least one up and one down to stay both relevant and to continue to grow.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It was really, really good advice.
Always a pleasure.
So today we had Sarah, great coach, And I just wanted to ask you how people can find you, because a lot of people asking about coaching, and I know that you're really, really good coach, and you can add so much value to people.
Thanks. Yeah. So people can find me. I have a website. It's inwiththenewYou.com. That's the easiest way. Or I'm on LinkedIn at Sarah Jones Carter. I'm on Instagram too, Sarah Carter Coach. I have a book out on Amazon. It's called All About Change by Sarah Carter. So those are the ways that people can find me.
Great. Okay, Sarah, thank you very much for being with us. And I'm sure that all listeners, they just had so much value from you. And I think that, and myself and all of these listeners that we have, they would come back to your content and we learn more about your values and about how you can grow other people and how you can grow other leaders and add more value to them.